Okay, here it comes. The timer is on. I really hope this is working. Dun, dun, dun. Seems to be working. All right, there we go. We are recording, we are broadcasting as far as I know. And I'm hoping that works. Um, so, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking with seven other people. Adam is unfortunately able to make it. He is driving right now on his way to St. Louis, so he won't be a part of this one. We'll probably make him a part of the next one. Not a major thing here. So, what we're going to do again, we're going to go down the line, and I'm going to call on each one of you to tell me who you are and give me a little blurb about your service, your time in, so why we should listen to you basically, and then we're gonna dive into the topic. So, right off the bat, let's go with Nick. You're next to my picture, so that's who's gonna go first.
Yes. Building 15 years in the Canadian Armed Forces, both as a vehicle technician with the Royal Canadian Electrical Mechanical Engineers, and finishing off my career with the Royal of Gagetown. So 15 years, both reserve and been around. I've heard a lot, seen a lot, done a lot, but now I start my own brewing company, Call Sign 6 Brewing, and I'm hoping that it'll go pretty pop from
Yeah, man. I'm
so
looking
from
to
that.
try some eventually when you can get
Yeah,
some to
man.
me. Because I'm looking for anybody that makes beer. I'm down. Like, let's do this. Cole, how about you?
Right on. Yep, Cole McCoy. I did 17 years in the artillery. Took a few years off. Went and worked private contractor out in the drink there off the Horn of Africa. Got back in to do my retirement job as a Air Force AVN tech and part-time podcaster. And that's what I do in my spare time.
Wicked. All right, Toby.
Toby Miller, 15 years in the Army, signaler. Last 6 years was at CSOR. About 3 tours in Afghanistan, some time in Northwest Africa. Been a few places, seen a few things. Some of them I'd recommend, some I wouldn't.
That's a good way of putting it. I like it. Tim.
Yes, Tim. I have served 23 years with the Patricia's Airborne Regiment, Skyhawks, 8 years in the Reserve Unit with Queensland Rifles of Canada, and the Loyal Edmonton Regiment when I finished off. Also spent time in the Alberta Sheriffs. I was the first Regimental Sergeant Major of the Sheriffs and brought that into Justice Solicitor General and on the Executive Protection Team. And I went through 5 premiers of Alberta. Great job. Now I'm retired and I'm a skydiving instructor. Oh, wait, and I
No.
have served in Cyprus, Croatia, Afghanistan, West Africa, and the Middle East.
No big deal, right?
Hoorah.
Who's this guy? Ash, you're up.
Hi, my name's Ashley Doyle. I spent 21 years in the forces. I started off in the primary reserves with the 48 Highlanders of Canada, and I finished
Whoa.
off with the Royal Canadian Regiment. I spent time in the 3rd Battalion and the 1st Battalion. I've deployed a few times, one of the Balkans, spent some time in Afghanistan as well, and in Eastern Europe. I have spent time quite a bit of time instructing firearms and stuff like that throughout that duration, mainly teaching law enforcement, whether it's guys, conventional police officers and or tactical officers. So I spent quite a few years doing that as well. I've done some training and taught on some courses down in the States as well, and dabbled into some executive protection as well. So
Sweet. Been around. Nate, you're up.
All right, so I'm Nate. I served in the Patricias for about 13 years. I went to the dark side and the world of the Royals before I left. I served in Bosnia a little bit over and a decorated hero of Verdansk. And now I do some traveling in the States and North America as a North American freedom fighter and work in veteran supports. And I also do some modeling on the side if you're looking to collaborate later.
Giggity. Love it. That Verdansk medal that's a tough one to come by. I mean, really,
It was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather not talk about it.
Okay, we can just leave it at that. Y'all know me. I'm Chance Burrows. I did 8 years in the Engineers Tour of Afghanistan, all that good stuff. And now I am the podcast host. I have Tools for the Toolbox. If you guys are watching, you fucking Mo. Sorry, that's just a response. I don't even know where that came from. So today, say it again.
That's a nervous tick with all you engineers.
Yeah, 100%. We don't like, you finish your threes course and all of a sudden you just start yelling Chivo at the world and you don't know what happened. You're just like, so today we have a number of different people from a number of different aspects. I mean, we have, and the reason I have y'all today is we're going to talk about the tribe. Dun, dun, dun. Toby brought this up as a point of the loss of the tribe, but I wanted to talk more about the whole realm of it, right? Because nobody starts as one of the tribe, right? You have to go through your process and you have to go through basic and all these other things. And then there's a point. And I'll tell you this point is for me, and I want to hear what your guys' points are, where you feel like you are now a part, right? Like you're a part of it all. And some people, it's when they get the greens. Some people, it's when they get the first rifle, when they get to units, lots of different things like that. For myself, I did what's known as the Great Escape. And afterwards, I felt like I was part of the team. And some might consider this hazing. I think it's a really good introduction to the unit and your stores, but this is what happened. So I was sitting in a rolly chair one day in the bay. The lights got turned off. All of a sudden, I was being duct taped or gun taped to a chair. That chair got rolled into one of the storage cages, and then the cage got locked, and then the key was put inside a big, like a lav D-ring, 16 feet away from the cage itself. And then the lights went back on. And you're expected and timed to get out. So every good soldier has to have a knife on him at all times. So I took my knife out of my pocket. I cut the gun tape out of it so I was out of the chair. And then I was exploring my stores, trying to figure out how to get out of the cage. Long story short, I got out of the cage. It took me 17 and a half minutes, something like that, by extending one of the lav antennas. I extended one of that out of the cage and dragged that D-ring in like a couple inches at a time until I could get it close enough and I unlocked myself. But after that, I felt like I was part of the team. Like there was nobody held back around me, right? Like I was one of the guys. So let's go in reverse order. How about you, Nate? Was there a point that you knew you were a part of the team?
They just chewed his water cage.
Right. Kind of funny because I had a situation happen to me. Okay, it's a good way to start it because I actually got fucked out of being that feeling of being part of the tribe. The moment I thought I was going to feel like I was part of the tribe was the badging ceremony when we finished Wainwright. 17 weeks, glorious time, working with everybody. We started with 100 and something camps and we graduated 28. So you had that feeling of you accomplished something, right? And it was in winter too. So you had that sense of you know you achieved something. Other people were literally just dropping in front of you. We get to the badging ceremony, and the instructor that was handing out the badges, the cap badges, he in the last 24 hours didn't like me anymore, and it was totally nothing I had done. Like, it's a story that will come out later. I've actually, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I've actually had to do some therapy and counseling in that, because when you have an instructor who's going to kill you because they screwed up, and then tell you the next day on parade when they hand you your cap badge that you busted your ass and you struggle through all that shit, look at you and go, you're the biggest fucking disappointment on my parade. You kind of get that moment stolen from you, right? Now, this is not a sob story by no means, because I am not a sobber at all, okay? I've never bitten a pillow in my life, and I'm not going to cry my big Sputnik head into a marshmallow here and whine about it. What happened was his own literally stole that moment from me, because everybody else around me was like, oh shit, right? And then 6 months later, what happened came to light, and I was 100% vindicated. And this man did not have the balls to apologize for his mistake, but it was something that hung with me. So I always felt aback from the crowd. I always felt aback from the rest of the troops. So it pushed me to work harder than I should have had to be part of that tribe. I love the troops. I love the guys, and I to this day still people message me, and I'm there for them and everything. But I never fully felt I had earned it because of that one moment. And that being taken from me was actually kind of a good thing, because it inspired something in me. Never let it happen to anybody else around me. And when I could see somebody trying to take that moment away from everybody that I and all those private corporals and officers and shit, because I was in the instruction system for a few years, I physically grabbed a few guys and fellow ranks and pulled them aside and said, don't you fucking finish that sentence, because I knew the damage it was going to do. So for me, I don't feel, and even all these years later, I still don't feel like a Patricia earned. I don't feel like a Royal earned, which is good, because I don't want to be a Royal earned. I love the Royals. You guys are great guys. Here's permission to go to the bathroom, whatever. Tongue in cheek, obviously, with all due respect, truly feel like I am a great Patricia tattoo. I'm proud of the boys and proud of being the third. But that moment was taken from me by an ignorant, somebody who's fucked, somebody who had decided they. So for me now, and that fire is instilled in me to ensure that people, when they get out, have a tribe, like I did, right? Because that was my journey, and that's what lit the torch in my lighthouse. If I could coin,
I like it.
that okay to coin? Yeah. Well, I don't care if you like it. It's my phrase. So now, when last night, I was at a dinner with 50 truly badass dudes that we were raising money for. I didn't feel like I was one of them, but they were coming up and talking to me and including me in the conversation, and like, dude, and asking me questions and shit, and exchanging emails and phone numbers and everything. At any time I have now that I call those guys up, they will be there for me if I need something. But because of what happened and how I was robbed of that sense of belonging, I've always felt to the side. It's questionable. Seeing those that actually have that sense of feeling now after they get out, because when you leave the military, and we're talking about tribe, and I'm going to shut up here in a second, is when you leave, the Army keeps going without you. I don't care who you are, how many missions in Verdansk you run, how many, whatever you do, leave, nobody can. They have to keep going. And now you have to rebuild that tribe. And that's what you're doing with this roundtable and everything, is you're working to build that tribe. So for me, I'm like, I explained this to somebody yesterday. One of my old troops messaged me out of the blue. And I said, picture the littlest hobo with a little bit of the A-team, and that's what I do these days. And that was the best way I could explain it, because I was wrongly accused and convicted of something I didn't do. And I keep wandering on, and maybe tomorrow, maybe I'll want to settle down.
Maybe, maybe. I highly doubt it because you don't seem like the type of person that's going to settle down. And on a side note, I got a message from a dude named Grant Miller who says, "What's up, Nate?"
No way.
Yeah.
That's,
So
that's
he saw your face on the trailer I put up and just messaged me and was like, "Dude, you got to say hi to him." So, um, Ashley, how about you? Was there a point where you were like, "I'm part of this now"?
I wouldn't necessarily say yes. The reason being is, when we're looking at the context of like the military, the forces, and serving, call it great conditioning or whatever. But I mean, I started out, as a 12-year-old kid in Army cadets, and I started out, in Moss Park Armories with the 48 Hounders of Canada cadets. So starting at such a young age and immediately putting on a uniform, doing drill, firing weapons, doing all these things that were expected of you as even as an Army cadet. I mean, it's significantly changed from the time that I was doing it, but it was those building blocks. So then from there I just aged out and just transitioned right into the primary reserves, and I just happened to join into the 48 Hounders, which I was already a cadet as part of that unit. So for me, it was just kind of a natural progression to keep going, and then afterwards ending up in the regular force. So I wouldn't say that I've had a, a point in which it was like, yes, I've arrived, or yes, I feel like I've accomplished something, because in each of those time periods, I've had accomplishments. So whether they were um, completing courses, whether it was meeting other individuals, whether it was serving in different countries, they all had their relevance at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that when you look at progression and you progression of certain things, I think that my time, even both in the reserves and in the regular force, I think it paid dividends for me when I got to the regular force, because eventually, as I worked my way up the ranks, it allowed me to understand where the different forces are coming from, and the different capabilities and competencies depending on which component we're talking about. So no, I can't say that there's a definitive moment in which I said, I could say I arrived. I'm just happy that I was able to progress through each one of those, starting at 12 years old in Army cadets, and then move my way all the way through into my 40s. So that's
Mm-hmm.
that's it's yeah. I'm glad I was able to do that.
That yeah, and it makes a lot of sense too because if you remove the major milestones in terms of the longevity of your career, like especially at a young age, um, it changes the outlook of it, right? Like if you've been doing, if I talk to my cousin who's been on a ranch his whole life, he's not going to think anything of the accomplishments of being a really accomplished rider or being, managing a business that has 500 head, blah 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 blah. It's just normal. That's just the way it is. So that's a great uh, angle to look at it from. Tim, how about you? Was there a point for you where you were like, "Oh yeah, this is it"?
Yeah, roger that.
This is the first time you said, "Who is that was it?"
No, I just want to, first of all, acknowledge Nate. You are a fucking dirty Patricia, you son of a bitch. Don't let that piece of shit take that away from you. You know
Mm-hmm.
that. And my 48th Highlander brother, same armories with the QOR. That's awesome, man. I loved partying with you guys. Such a great regiment. But for me, when did I know? Well, a couple of times. Queen's Own Rifles, right away. I find the reserves do a better job of tradition and history. And when we graduated our recruit course, you knew you arrived. It was, like a mugging in. It was really well done. And then when I joined the Patricias, same thing. When you sign your course report, you're coined by the platoon commander, and he says, "Welcome to the profession of arms." That's like, hooah, fucking awesome. And then jump course is another thing. You get your wings sprayed at the prop blast. And Airborne Regiment, you prove yourself. But within the Airborne Regiment, I went to the Pathfinders at a very young age in my career. Only 2 years in the Army, and I'm in fucking Pathfinder platoon. You get drafted into that platoon based off performance. You don't just like, hey, let's just get a guy over here. So that was welcoming. And then that we had this weekly asshole of the week thing. And it was basically a mirror on the wall, and it said asshole of the week. So if you fucked up, you've got to look in the mirror and you get your beer. So in a way, it was kind of like, I need to be the asshole of the week, but I never achieved asshole of the week. So I guess that was my thing. And I never got a hazing or anything like that, because I was producing, I was performing. But then you go into the sniper world, and when you know you've made it, well, 3 of us passed the course, and then you get that presented. The hog's tooth, hunters of gunmen. Only snipers can hunt snipers. That's been with me since I graduated. I got to present my son his, so that's cool shit. And so that's when I knew I arrived.
That's outstanding, and I really love the fact that you get something from it, right? That's fantastic. When you actually complete something like that.
This means more than the sniper badge.
Yeah.
Right? Because only we know what that is. Only we know.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Toby, how about you?
Well, I think just like Ashley, I was in the cadet program when I was younger, and I can't say enough about how amazing it was back then. I understand it's an entirely different world now. I mean, like, we used to drill with FNs. We had a range in our cadet lines where we could shoot 22 only, but you would shoot on a regular parade night. That doesn't exist. So I, basic training wasn't that big a deal to me. It didn't mean much. But for me, when I finished my QL3s, I found myself in Afghanistan 5 weeks after graduation. I was a no-hook private. I barely a soldier, and I was in Afghanistan on Roto Zero. And that was a moment of acceptance that, holy shit, I'm actually in this. I'm part of this club. I'm part of this group. I'm cruising around the streets of Afghanistan in an Iltis, it was ridiculous. And that's certainly one. The other one is, for support guys, and this is different from most of you guys, is that we tend to move tribes, right? We don't just stick somewhere. There is very few people in the world that I know, Jimmies, who are, proud of the fucking Jimmy badge on their, they're proud of the unit they're part of, right? They're not proud of the branch or proud of any of that. Although the CNE branch, Lord knows the comms branch has done a lot of shit since it started in World War I, and it's got a lot to be proud of. I don't object anything to ever saying I'm a signaler. I take great pride in that. But for me, probably getting my 10 beret is obviously an acceptance, getting selected into be a close enabler for a special operations team. Getting my crest for the Mohicans, which is Stone 3-3, my call sign in Afghanistan. That was a team of 12 guys, hand chosen, and the team leader went to bat for me to pick me, and that's probably the closest tribe I'll ever be in my life. There's a dozen dudes, up on my wall, and I will never not be a Mohican. That patch will stay with me for the rest of my life. So those instances, I felt like I was being accepted into the tribe. The opposite is entirely true. The second I walked out of the lines at CSOR, after I'd been wounded, and at the time, CSOR was not great on keeping guys in the unit after they were hurt. I did stick around for a while after I was hurt, but I eventually had to I went to the what are we calling them now? The transition centers or whatever. I hate that phrase. Yeah. So I got sent there. When that gate closed behind me and I didn't have an ID card to get me back in there, that was the holy shit, I'm not in the tribe moment, right? And that was probably a worse moment for me than when I was wounded. I was wounded was, you would think, the worst day of my life, but in fact, walking out of that gate was probably the worst day of my life. So that tribe thing, that was why I sort of recommended it to the chance for us to talk about, because it is so heavily into us. Tim is going to be a Patricia Sniper for the rest of his life. That's in his heart. It's tattooed on his fucking soul, and it's never going to change, you know. And that's a lot of us take it that way. A lot of us is not just we're soldiers because it's what we do, but it's what we are. And so that tribe leads to a sense of belonging, but it also, when in its loss, leads to a sense of grief, right? So yeah, I guess when I first showed up my first tour, when I got selected for SOF, and then when I got picked to be a Mohican, that was probably the points I can tag.
Yeah, those are nice. We're going to get into the loss of tribe in a minute, but you bring up a good point in that if you're a support trade and you're constantly jumping around A to B to Z, blah, 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 blah. I know lots of Siggies that love working with the engineers or love working with the PPCLI, or medics who think, who work with the PPCLI who are like, I'm basically an infantryman, but they're a medic, right? So like, I know they're not basically, you know what I'm talking about, right? Though they feel a part of that unit rather than one field am or whatever. So that's a great point from the support trade side of it too. Cole, how about you?
Right on. Yeah. Mine was a little rocky. And like listening to everybody, it brings up the memories that you kind of block out, right? So when I first got in '99, it was course after course after course in the artillery, and then I got to go on deployment right away too to Bosnia, and I loved it. I got picked. I was no hook. I got given a good job over there as a DLO driver, so lived on the economy, wore civvies. It was really cool. But when I got back, it was like I was I stole somebody's position. I got all these, senior corporals and master bombardiers that just hated me, absolutely hated me, because I got to go right away, and they hadn't been anywhere. In the artillery, there's a lot of guys that retire with just a CD, right? Not so much now because of Afghanistan, but in '99, there were a lot of them that hadn't gone anywhere. So it took a little while, and when I realized that I was part of the team, I had a guy come up to me and go, "Hey, I heard you got engaged." I was like, "Yep." He's like, "Oh, you know the old artillery tradition. You have to get the CO's permission to get married." And I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yep. You got to present your wife up to the chief, and he's got to take her up to the CO." And I was like, "Oh shit!" So I did it. I went to see the chief. He escorted me and my wife to the CO, and the CO gave us his blessing. And I didn't know that at the time I'd got a good working relationship with everybody. They all really liked me, and they set this whole thing up for me. And it was great. Right then, I was like, all right, I'm in this unit, right? And it was an amazing feeling because for the last couple of years before that, man, I felt like I couldn't win at anything, right? I still stole somebody's tour. And anytime we'd put our DUs on and they'd see I had 2 medals and they had none, I would just get shit on. But going to what Toby was talking about when you leave. So when I got out, went and worked private security, and I got back in, I fell for the stupid recruiting bullshit. Hey, just rejoin the artillery, and you can OT in like 5 minutes once you get back in, and you can go whatever trade you want. Well, that's a fucking lie. I'd wait 5 fucking years before I could do anything. So I became Air Force. But they didn't put me right away to a BTL. They made me put my blue beret on, and they put me back as the BQ, or you guys know him as the CQ. So I was the 2IC in there, and I noticed right away, just from day one, artillery cap edge to Air Force, I was invisible. Guys were my friends, didn't even look at me, they didn't say hello. I'd ask guys to clean the rifles better, and they'd turn them in, they'd tell me to fuck off. Like, I'm like, holy shit, I'm the same guy. Like, you guys can't talk to me like this. And they're like, you're leaving us, you're abandoning us. Mm-hmm. So it really set me up for a hard go in the Air Force, because I hated the Air Force when I got into it. I hated them. I treated a lot of the Air Force guys like shit, especially their master corporals and that, because I was better than them, or I had this chip on my shoulder because those guys gave me the send-off of a huge piss-off. And then now that I've been here for a while, I've realized Air Force ain't so bad. Like I said, it's a beautiful retirement job. Yeah. And the guys have accepted me in, and I'm no longer so hard on them. And that's my 2 bits.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Jump in there, Tim. Yeah.
I just want to hit on the Air Force thing, because I don't know if anybody from the 3rd Battalion know Mark Day. Guy's a stud, amazing. He transferred to the Air Force to be a pilot, so he's got his rank on, he's air officer, and he's coming to the mess to have drinks, and the guys are giving him the gears, and it really hurt his feelings. Like it wasn't fun anymore. It was just like, oh, you're fucking Air Force, piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. And this is a guy who's a hero from overseas, man. This guy's a stud. And then he gets into the Air Force, gets to the pilot program, and then because he's got some good fucking shit on the chest, they were giving him the gears, and he ended up getting out. So we lost this fucking amazing stud. Sorry to
Tim,
interrupt.
I got an example of that. When we were in Borden we had a parade, a general's come to see us. So there's a bunch of us remusters. And I got my 5 medals, and the other guys got theirs. And the chief made us go to the back row because we had more medals than him, and he didn't want us to make him look bad. And he said either that or he's like, ribbons only. And we're like, what? They're like, yeah, back row. It was insane.
This is when egos get into the way, right? Which is just silly.
I'll tell you, Paul, I got my cousin is the deputy fire chief in our hometown, and he's got tours to Bosnia, tours to Kosovo, tours to Afghanistan. He left the military as a MWO firefighter. He's got this huge rack. The fire chief in our hometown asked him to stop wearing his medals because it made the chief look bad. You can guess what my answer to that is: go fuck yourself. But
Right.
Yeah.
I can't even believe it. It blows my mind. Like I've never been so shocked with a response from somebody like that.
The funny thing is like as a leadership point of view, that makes you look good, right? If the people underneath me are well experienced and have the ability to like, man, look at this guy. Like, look at this guy. He's my deputy. I don't have to do shit, man. This guy's awesome. Like, just from a leadership point of view, that blows my mind. Nick, how about you?
Absolutely. It's
Oh,
put
sorry,
your
go
fucking
ahead, Nick.
superstars out. Show them off. Don't hide them in the back because your ego is hurt because you've done nothing in your career because all you've been doing is dodging the gym and polishing donuts off.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Nick, how about you? You got a point where you were part of the team? Was it like when you got forced to drink gravy by a Strathcona or what?
No, so definitely not that. So okay, so I see the whole thing where Tim was in cadets and Ashley was in cadets and Toby was in cadets. So I actually got my glove. That was pretty cool. And then shortly after that, I decided, hey, screw playing pretend Air Force. I'm going to join the Army because that was a bright idea. But I'm a mechanic and I'm going to fix the vehicles. I'm going to do a great job, right? And like you do your EMI common and your QL3, and I was top 3% of I was actually second for the top candidate for my course, and it was good. But like in the REMI world, it's by skill and by fighting. What that really means is we eat our own. And when I came to Gagetown, I went on a recovery call and I almost got killed by the Master Jack. And I kind of told him to fuck off because I'm like, dude, like, I almost died. And when you make it public, like, hey, I will never go on this recovery call with this guy again because he's going to fucking kill me and he should know better. It's, that kind of puts a target on your back. And of course, as you go. And so then we're doing our QL on the job training and everything. And because I was already a reservist and then I had gone reg force, so he didn't like the fact that I didn't have to go back to Borden. But the funny thing is when I was in Borden, I did a reg force course. I was supposed to go to Afghanistan in 2010 as a reservist. So it was like, and he didn't like that because I didn't have to, I was already ahead of him, right? And he had his one tour to Afghanistan and one to Bosnia, but he's like, oh, back, yeah, this is what we did, right? And you're like, okay, you're a fucking dinosaur, buddy, like. And he's like, well, this is how we set it up, and that's how you almost killed me. So then when we got into the OJT center, you're diagnosed. He failed me a few times, and I was like, "What the fuck, man? Like, I did this right." And he's like, "No, you didn't do it right. You didn't use the right book." I'm like, "What fucking book?" "Well, you didn't go by this book right here." And he pulls out this fucking, it off. Like, where the fuck that was that, right? So then, of course, I went armored because they're like, "Oh no, you failed your OJT, so we're gonna make you go another trade." So, of course, they're like, "Well, you're good at fixing armored vehicles, go armored." So, like, what a great idea. And I think, when I got the Springbok on graduation, it was a good time. But I think really hitting the tribe was getting to at the Dragoons D Squadron, right? And I still have the patch. Oh, it's not there. But like actually meeting Toby's brother-in-law, Sheldon, and playing hockey, and chirped the ever-loving fuck out. And you're, the hell's your fucking problem, buds? And and then
Hockey makes you part of it.
yeah, well, and then I'm just like, because like, well, again, you don't usually get chirped when you're a mechanic. Like, oh, you want your vehicle fixed? Go fuck yourself, right? Like,
Yeah.
meanwhile, I'm at Recce Squadron, and then it's a Friday afternoon, and all you hear is fish fight, and you're like, okay, and then of course you got the dun, 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 fight, and they're like, you Nick, you this new guy, and I'm like, who the fuck? Like, they're like, you got to grapple this guy, and I'm like, all right, I've not realizing I did boxing, jiu-jitsu, judo, right? They're like, yeah, it's just the mat and everything, and then rear naked choke, and he doesn't tap, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna break your arm with a arm bar. He taps, and then then they're like, cool, here's your patch, here's your your beanie, and everything, right? Here's a couple beers. And that really kind of stuck because it was like Recce Squadron was the assholes. We were A Squadron versus D, and then it was like, of course, Sheldon would always be shit. So we, well, I guess we're gonna finish follow through, right? And but that was the best part, and like actually talk about 3RCR or 3 PPCLI snipers when we ambushed 3 PPCLI Wainwright, 4 guys, and we stole their monsters and put dongs on their on their ATVs, found their crypto. They like everything was all legit, and we're like, well, we're gonna take their monsters, and we took all their licky chewies, and they're like, you goons. Like, yep. That was like, you fucking goons, right? Like, that was our thing. And then I got to the school, and like I tried to carry that along, and it just felt it's the school. You don't really get.
Yeah, that's a tough part when you become an instructor, right? Is that you have to. There's a different line that you have to toe. As a private corporal, you can get into some shit, some shenanigans, right?
Well, still as a driver, right?
Even at the school, it's a different sense of tribe. Like, you've got all that mix, and everybody's out for their own career, their own aspirations, and own goals, and they'll sell you out. Like, I was sold out so many times, but I didn't, because at the end of the day, all I cared about was the troops. But yeah, some of those guys, and like working with Vandus and Royals, and it was, we take care of each other. Royals and Vandus would eat each other up, like you said. Like they behaved like MPs eating their own. And seriously though, and it was ridiculous. And you just had to kind of hope that energy didn't go into the troops, because at the school, it's not a tribe. It's like high school, just no hot chicks.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, by all means, actually, jump in.
Just from listening to everybody, you can see and start to pick up on the common theme of how you can run into complications or issues transitioning from one tribe to the next. And I think, and Chance, you and I touched on this on the last podcast there. We talked about routine, and I went on a bit of a sidebar when I started talking about leadership. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the treatment of personnel, like looking after your people, no matter what, full stop. And I think, you know, the military has this thing always ongoing where it's like the flavor of the month. Like, what's the next thing that we're gonna pass on to the members of the CAF, and what's the next training we're gonna make them all take place in or take part in to make sure that we check off all the boxes and we meet, you know, the Government of Canada mandate. But they don't understand that the animosity and the ridiculousness and how that's the actual true toxic issues that we should be talking about. It's not we need to make sure that we do our GBA plus analysis and get that check in the box. Like, you know, by not calling people out and not being consistent about it and not, you know, and not doing those types of things, you know, they're causing more problems. They're allowing these small issues of a profession of arms where we shouldn't put up with this nonsense. And people should be professional enough to do their job on a regular basis, because they just kind of, you know, allow that to be pushed off to the side. And there's no accountability and there's no consistency that goes along with that. We run into more problems. We create our own problems when it doesn't need to be that from the first place. But people are too lazy, I believe, personally, from my experience, to say what they need to and mean what they say.
That's a great point. I think also it has to do with knowledge. I'm gonna be doing a podcast with a buddy of mine, Seb Lavoie, about context and how it is the responsibility of both the person in charge and the person being told what to do to be able to give context to a situation. And we were talking about policing, but it happens a lot in the military too, right? Where somebody just comes overboard and just like fuck, the knife hand comes out, and you're sitting there like, I don't know what's happening. And you're like, all of a sudden you're at attention. You're like, I'm getting yelled at. Okay, cool. I'm getting yelled at, right?
Or it's like 3 to go home, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, hey guys, you know, the ops master Jack's like, hey guys, we got to do this, this, and this right now, but we got to get it done by like 4:00. And you're like, what the fuck? Where was this? Like, you know,
We've
it's
been
all in
sitting here all
context.
day. What the hell? And yeah, I mean, there's actually a point in time I went to get my boys released, and I just got promoted to Mass Corporal. It was like 3:30, 3:45, and I'm like, hey guys, hey Warrant, what's up? Do we got anything on the go? Can I let my boys go? It's like, it's time to go home. And he's like, actually, there might be something coming down the pipe. Come back in 15 minutes. So I went down to the bay. I came back. 15 minutes later, he was gone. He had gone home. And I was like,
There's definitely a time and place for lighting somebody up or jacking somebody up.
yeah,
But that
for
shouldn't be the norm,
no,
right?
for sure.
It's like when you look at, you know, guys on DP1, infantryman, or whichever of those courses at that level, or when they finally get to the battalion, and you know, we're hesitant on issuing these guys MMVGs or any kind of serialized piece of kit because we're concerned that like they're going to lose it. Never mind having them tie everything off with 550 core. We're not talking about that. But what I am saying is it comes down to responsibility. Like if you treat people like children, you're going to get children. It goes both ways. So if you want professional, competent soldiers, you have to be consistent in what you're saying with them, and you have to treat them as such in order for them to reciprocate and do their job as what's expected. But you know, at times we're paying lip service to it, and then we create more issues because that always creates a knock-on effect. And then we wonder why guys aren't competent enough to do their job. We wonder why they're failing, or we wonder why they're having additional issues. Is because, you know, we're not doing the job to begin with, like, you know, which creates layers to all these things. I think a lot of the stuff that we talk about and discuss is, I think it's intertangled, and when we start bringing up the one point, you know, without going down the rabbit hole, it starts going into the other areas, right? It's like physical issues or injuries that when you start addressing one, right, something else starts to fire up. and it's a knock-on effect. And like I said, I think the two biggest things is accountability and consistency. And because we see a lack of both of those, we create our own issues.
And absolutely, and the other aspect that's tied into that weave that you're woven that you're weaving. Anyways, take care. What it is the be the example that you are trying to get them to be, and treating them like children. So, just to jump on the train, yes, I came through the cadet program as well. I was in Army cadets. The points then were 10. Then I get into the Army first, and also there's 12 because change. I'm going to take these two and break them into 4 other ones. Just the sense to change something, just to be the one to change something, does not mean the change is good. And if you and Mark Legend, school, rest his soul, the example of what you see in your mind of the soldier you want to be or the leader that you want to follow, be that. So if you want to be the guy with the big shit locker waddling around and portraying know-it-all that doesn't do anything, all show, no go, then do that. But if you want to be the guy, and I use the term guy loosely, it's generic to all troops, so ladies, gentlemen, foxes, whatever have you. So you have to be and then have that consistency. So if you're not putting that extra time in, then don't go on PT in the morning and run the guts out of your troops, because that's the only time you have chosen to do PT, because PT is supposed to be a camaraderie thing, not a run the troops into you are. Okay, it's supposed to be a motivational part. And what Ashley's saying is absolutely true, is you have to be consistent. And if you have your troops sitting around doing nothing, well, then your tribe is just going to have that down energy and be slugs, right? So when I was in cadets, it was all about structured timings and lessons and teaching that information and going and providing it all the time. Getting into the Reg Force, I was told by Mark, he's like, find the guy that you think is a good leader, watch everything they're doing, learn from it, and then make it your own. Make it your own, make it your own. And when Ashley said that about the government mandate, I can say this, hanging with the Americans so much as I do and going back and forth, so many veterans groups, there's so many things that are said the same. If you are not a military member or haven't gone through the training and stuff, you're not going to understand it. But when you put us there and you have those very similarities because of a government that is doing stupid shit, then you're going to have a military that is very discombobulated, just like children coming from relationships with their parents, because it's the same knockdown gone effect. So think of it this way. You want your kids to grow up thinking that you have an abusive parent or a broken home, then you raise them that way. You make random decisions, you throw caution to the wind, you take your pants off at inappropriate times, and you fall asleep drunk in front of the fireplace. Or you're consistent, you let them learn and guide them through their discovery and their decisions, you trust, you give them a little bit of 550 cord because there's some officers in the mix, but you let them make those decisions. So actually nail.
Yeah, I could agree more. I do have one point on that, but Tim, you look like you wanted to say something a little while ago. Did you have a point? Or did you lose it? Lost it?
No, I lost it, but I mean, really, at the end of the day here, embrace everything. And I was that leader that when I was a young guy, remember those leaders are like, you're standing here with the troops, and the leader's 2 feet away and goes, okay, everybody come on me. How about you fucking walk over to the troops? So those simple things, right? CQs come in, and they got to fucking reorganize everything. It's like, we got to put the jerry cans from here to there. Well, we could still access the jerry cans here. Yep. Those kind of little things, right? Or giving shit to the troops. But it's about the troops, and we always have to remember that, period. Right? All the time. And when I train leaders, I always say, when you see, like, yeah, I pick all the good things from leaders that made me the leader. But what makes me a better leader is seeing all the shit things, and I'm like, don't do those fucking things. So I did that with all my junior leaders when I was teaching them. don't do these little things. And I'm kind of on a tangent now, but PERs. Guy, oh God, I gotta write up a PER. How the fuck do you think you became a sergeant? Because of your performance? Yeah, half, but because that other guy took the time to write you up for that performance. The other master corporal could be performing here, but his sergeant went, I'm putting that much effort into it. And guess what? The other guy's going to be a sergeant first. So do your effort, do your due diligence, and write up your troops.
Yeah.
What
I couldn't-
interesting facts here, I just to talk about, point on a couple of things they were saying. You can be in the Army and not be in the tribe. That just sort of occurred to me over the last little while. I know soldiers, I've known soldiers, I've worked with soldiers who I'm sure when they left, they had no feeling of loss. They had no grief for it. They never felt like they belonged in the first place. My wife did 15 years. Military intelligence, 1 RCR. She was in battalions. She deployed twice. She hated the job. Never fucking felt like it was her. Always felt like she was, when she put on a uniform, that she was playing soldier. She didn't actually ever feel like she was a soldier doing it. So she doesn't feel the sense of loss of a tribe. But when I say like Tim's a Patricia sniper and always will be tattooed on his heart, that's the people who are the tribe. And that's the tribe you're talking about. I think we sort of don't recognize that you can be in a unit and your tribe is actually the people in that unit with whom you share a connection, with whom you share a bond and you share values, with whom you are willing to fight beside, die beside. Not fight and die beside any fat bastard with Jimmy on his head, but I feel connection to men who are warriors at heart, to men who have a certain mindset and they share my mindset. And that, I think, is sort of what we lose. So when we talk about tribe, and I'm a huge Sebastian Younger fan. So, when he talks a lot about tribe, people could be excommunicated from their tribe in First Nations history and it not have a huge effect on the tribe, nor even on the person who was pushed out. And we can suffer the same things in the military. So the question to my mind, as far as leadership goes, is how do you foster tribe, right? How do you foster tribe within your unit? What do you do to foster tribe within your unit? In the case of CSOR, we have the Arrowhead, the First Special Service Force Arrowheads, and we wore them overseas. Exactly. We carry the First Special Service Force's colors. They were granted to the regiment in perpetuity to carry. Okay, well, that creates some sense of tribe. The V-42s, they give us V-42 daggers when we leave the unit, things like that. How do you do that? I mean, obviously, Kansas's a different animal because it's small, but how do you do that in a larger scale? How do you do that with an army? Well, for one thing, is actually saying some goddamn leadership that has some sense of responsibility, because it's very hard for people to feel like they want to be part of this tribe when the chief of defense staff is getting fired and then the guy behind him is getting fired, the guy behind him is getting fired. So yeah, just some points about tribe, I guess. So I want to rant.
I just
I
want to
think
quickly
hold
hit
on
on
a
that
sec.
tribe.
Yeah, Tim, go ahead. And then Cole, and then I'm going to go from there. Go ahead, Tim.
So that tribe comes from leadership, right? Like the young troops are going like, whatever. But the leadership got to push that stuff. And that's all about that. And within the Patricias, I don't know how the RCR and the other units do it, or the engineers, but all our support staff that come in, all our mechanics and cooks and clerks, they get a Patricia coin. They're considered Patricias in our heart, and Patricias forever. And you'll see those guys in those support positions wearing Patricia clothing, and always say once Patricia, always Patricia. And we consider them Patricias. And that's when they get posted out. They're like, I don't want to leave. I'm like, why not? You don't want to go home? They're like, no, you guys are my home. So we've built that tribe in the Patricias. I don't know how the other units do it.
Yeah. Cole, you got a point?
Right on. Just to touch on a little bit that everybody had said, like where Ashley was going on and Nate, the biggest thing right now that I find, because I'm still in, is the mentorship's gone. A lot of people retired, like you guys, because Afghanistan's over. It's peacetime. It's boring as shit. Nobody wants to mop floors and push around lockers. And so what happens is the people that are left behind get pushed up, and they take these leadership roles. And right now, like, I was mentoring Air Force Master Corporals because they had no idea what to do. They went and hid in their office. They didn't know how to converse with the troops. They didn't know what to do because nobody mentored them. They got put in those positions because there's nobody else. And so they got this grumpy ass ex-army corporal now coming in there, and I'm telling them what they need to do, and I'm forcing them out of the office and mingling with the troops, keeping the sergeants from making these guys' lives miserable. And morale went up. They felt better too because people started coming to them, and people started using their experience when before they just hid. So I think the biggest thing that we've lost is the mentorship. Like Tim's talking about how he trained his junior leaders. But there's a lot of people who aren't doing that anymore. They want to get to the rank of sergeant warrant because that's where the best pension is, right? And they don't care about the troops anymore because they're not going anywhere. They're not doing anything. Latvia, but not very many people are going in there, and they're standing to them. They like my buddies tell me, they're just standing around.
Give it a few weeks.
Yeah. So the mentorship has got to come back, and it's got to start with at the corporal level. It's got to start at the mass corporal level, and people that just got to take it by the balls and run with it. One thing I did when I was debt commander to bring in people in the tribe is I made my debt. I ordered them. They had to come over for Easter dinner and bring their spouses and all that so they could meet mine and know that when we were deployed, their wives or girlfriends could come to my wife, my kids would babysit for them, stuff like that, and I made them be part of it. And a lot of them told me that was the first time they'd ever been invited over to somebody's house and stuff like that, and they felt like they were part of the team. And I told them, we're family. You guys are going to watch my back, I'm going to watch your back, and back home, my wife's going to stick up for yours because that's how she was. Like I said, she had to meet my CO before she could marry me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
I
great
think
point.
with
Go ahead,
Cole's thing there, I know, and and because again, my dad was Navy. I knew all the other of his shipmates. I knew all of that. So then when I got to regiment, and then when I was a mechanic and I'm working with all these other guys, and I'm working, and we did all to the regiment. I made sure to know who, like we had troop parties, and like we all had, breakfasts together. Like we made sure we were doing that, and to the point where bring their guys together, and like what Tim was saying, like all our extra guys. Like I remember we did a urban ops weekend, or not weekend. It was like 3 days long, up at the Connaught Ranges, outside of Ottawa, and we literally took our medics, our INTA, or our SIGGIes, and our mechanics for our squadron. We're putting you stacks. By the way, here's the shotgun. Here's you're the breacher. Breacher always like here's the sledge, right? Like it's your turn. Have fun. And they had to blast, and that came back to I think it was also like the leadership that we had for that, because like Johnny Green, his whole thing was the old days of like Recce Squadron versus Airborne. Like they always hated each other back in Pet, and that was like we'd go run across by 3 RCR and do chin up out of 3 RCR just because, and they're all there doing push ups, and we're like, fuck you, right? Just to start shit, right? But that was then like it just that was just what it was, right? And I think Cole brought that up. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
We-
I mean, it's a great point. I think personally, to answer Toby's question, even though he's left and gone somewhere else, I think the biggest way we can develop the tribe within units is competency, by actually showing the troops that they're competent. Because I know, like, the great escape for me when I was talking about this earlier was it shows a competency, a level of problem solving, a level of calm under pressure. It shows that you can figure out what you need to do in order, if you're given a task, do it rather than sitting there like, oh God, what do I do? And I think that happens a lot in leadership because we don't know how to, like, how do I build the confidence of somebody? How do I build the confidence so that they are, show them that they're competent so that they can be confident? One of the things that I did was I took a day. Tim, you mentioned having guys move stores every time. I was in 1-5 support, so we have all the heavy lift, we have all the boats, we have all the blah blah blah. Like I was doing all kinds of stuff, and I was the storesman, I was the boat op section commander. I had 14 dudes underneath me. It was crazy. We had just taken all the boats out, unrolled them all, made them all look nice, cleaned them all up, friggin' baby powdered them, packed them all away, made them nice, put them away, got them in a nice, like I had set up the entire stores. I'm like, this is actually useful. Very nice hair, Nick. That is excellent. And then my new warrant shows up, and he's like, yeah, I don't like the boats there. We're gonna move them over here. And it was literally 8 feet, like just one wall to the other. And I'm like, why? He's like, well, we need to do our yearlies on them anyway. I'm like, they're already done. Here you go. He's like, no, we're gonna do them again. Like that's not developing competence. That's developing idiocy, right? You're like, what the hell? So one of the things I did instead of that, allowing that shit to happen, was I took my boys and we went down to the Ropew Bay in the Engineer Regiment, which is way in the back corner where nobody else can find us. And I set up a whiteboard. I'm like, hey boys, we're gonna be here for the next hour. What do you want to learn about? What do you guys want to know? Like, what are you guys interested in? Blah, blah, blah. So, and they were like, you know, Russia was getting, this was back in 09, 10, something like that. No, 11. Anyway, Russia was getting weird. So they're like, what's going on with Russia? What's going on with Syria? What's going on with this? Like, what is private contracting and how does that work? How do you find work and that? And we had this list of the whiteboard over an hour of 25, 30 points of just stuff that they wanted to know about. So we left for the weekend. I came back on Monday and I had researched a ton of it. I'm like, okay, boys, let's talk about this. Because again, as Tim pointed out, as Ashley pointed out, as Nate, as everyone here has pointed out, is that we have to develop the next generation. And it has to be a development. You can't just accept that, oh, the next guys in are going to be totally fine. They went through the threes training. I didn't know shit when I finished my threes course. I'm sure every single person here didn't know shit. Like, I'm sure that every person, when they get to their unit, was told, you don't know fucking anything. We're going to teach you how to do it right. Right? Like, that's just the way it is. So we need to be, again, as Ash said, it's all about the consistency.
We used
to
to
move. Go ahead, Ash.
Sorry, Chance. I just want to close
Okay.
out here. We have words that we used to use, and they used to have meaning to achieve this, like camaraderie, esprit de corps. They weren't just catchphrases and magazine titles. And I personally believe that one of the reasons why the tribes aren't as strong as they used to be is shit's not hard anymore. We're focusing on the wrong stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I believe personally that the best and most effective tribes are forged, not assigned. And that's achieved through mutual suffering.
Mm-hmm.
That shit don't happen no more.
100%.
Shared hardship, absolutely.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
So I want to echo what Ashley said there. Is I always told my troops, the word hard is impossible. You can't get through like a fucking mountain or a rock. But a challenge is what forges unity, perseverance, integrity, and fucking character. And there's no challenge for troops to sit around all day and do nothing on the stairs except for hope the sergeant major doesn't come in and yell at them, or to move jerry cans 8 feet across because some jack needs to assert their dominance because, oh, well, I'm the new guy, and, you know, when the last guy did it and I was scared of him, so I need to make them scared of me. I hated it. And I don't use that word lightly. I hated it when I had officers come in from RM fucking C and tell me, oh, they're officers, so everybody's got to fear me because the best way to lead is through fear. No, it's not. You have a rank. The troops, out of just sheer performance, to the gates of hell. But a true leader will motivate without even trying to have those troops fly through those gates of hell with them into fucking whatever's unknown on the other side.
Yeah.
And that is what really matters. So Ashley, again, I love Ashley. Ashley, we're doing karate in the garage after this. He's right. The challenge is what is lacking, because the current challenge is to dip, or ignore whatever foolishness is going on and make it subtly through the day just to get home so they can carry on with what really matters to them at night. People join the Canadian Armed Forces for the challenge, not to sit around and hope that they don't get a stupid task.
That's a great point. And we were talking before I actually started the live portion of this. You guys were talking about the recruiting commercials, right? And I heard this fact a long time ago, and it'll be a short story before we move on. But that the United States Marine Corps has the lowest recruiting budget out of all the 5 things, and they have the highest recruiting numbers across the board. And it's because they sit there and go, "Are you good enough? Are you sure? Like, are you really? I don't think you are. You know what? Don't even bother. Just don't. You know what? I don't. Just stay over. You know what I mean? Like the type of people that you want to be, that want to be Marines, are going to look at that and be like, "Fuck you, I'm good enough. You're damn right." Like, yeah, they'll take it as a challenge and be like, "Yes, I will fucking do this."
Keep in mind, there's 5 branches to the U.S. military. Sorry, there's 4. The Marine Corps is a cult. They're not actually.
No,
That's a great point.
their own tribe into themselves, and they have their own internal challenges. Every same ground zero stuff. I'm working with a couple guys on some grappling and MMA, butt grabbing stuff, and the Marines have their own internal fitness program that is amazing. Have their own grappling championships and stuff. Like they push you. Once you are in, continue to push you until you decide or your career ends. They are so ingrained. And driving around the States on the highways, you see these little, cult stickers that they are on their vehicles. Well, my grandfather's a Marine. People take pride in telling you how many family members they have that are Marines. In Canada, you do that shit. Oh, my brother's boyfriend's dog walker was in the military. Who cares? And then you got these little Air Force, sorry, you guys are good. You have these airsoft clowns that walk around with half combats. And our nation is so unaware that you have anything slightly military on it, and you're like, oh, you have a military discount? And they're like, oh, you're in the military? You're wearing combat boots, or you have your hair cut a certain way, or, they don't know, so they just give it away. And that's what's so bad, is we give away those bonuses that you're talking about, those things that are earned and feel prideful. We give it away freely to some numpty who played Call of Duty for a half a second, or decided that airsoft was their activity, or even some of those paintball self-appointed wolf clowns.
Yeah, Nate.
When you talk about a tribe, no, I like airsoft. I played it for a long time. But there's some clowns in it, just like anything.
Yeah.
So, when I say it, and besides, if anybody has any hate mail, it goes to Chance there, and he will get it. So the aspect of having that true sense of tribe, if you, like you said, look at the Marines, whoa, that mean girling, like, no, I'm not really interested in you. Try harder to get into me.
Yeah.
We're talking
It works,
about that stuff, though. The Marine Corps utilizes the adversity, right? The Marine Corps is, in theory, part of the Department of the Navy, but they get all the Navy's cast-offs, all their comms gear, garbage. The Marine Corps has been working with HF comms only for years. Why? Because nobody else wanted it, right? So they take that adversity and they make it part of their tribal ethos. And we don't do that as a military. We have a military that currently sits and tries to follow along with the Government of Canada ethos. Well, that's fine, but gender pronouns don't have a place in a firefight.
Yeah.
They don't. And trying to figure out what I put onto my signature block this month should not be an issue in a warfighting mentality or warfighting world. And the Army is not the Government of Canada. It is not. It's not. It shouldn't even be viewed in the same viewpoint as an entity of the Government of Canada. Yeah, it's the muscle behind the diplomatic failures, but at the end of the day, you can't try and treat soldiers the way you treat civil servants leads you to a military that has weakness and loses its sense of tribe, right? Loses its direction.
Well, let's talk about the loss then, because we've been talking about being a part of a tribe for a while now, and there's something to be said when you realize that you're standing apart, right? You're no longer in that group anymore. And I mean, for me, the big one was when I turned in my kit, handing in all my stuff. That was a big shock. And prior to that, I was excited. I was like, fuck yeah, I am out of this shit. I don't have to deal with the bullshit anymore. I am Dunskies. Yeah, see y'all later. Peace out. And then they're like, oh, we're going to need your combats. And I'm like, but I like my combats. I don't want to give you my small pack. I don't want to and then my poncho liner disappeared randomly. But for me, that was the big one, right? And then you enter into this world that I was talking to my doc about this, that the Army is an ordered system, right? Even with all its faults and all the bullshit that we have to deal with, it is an ordered system. You have a place, you have a rank, you have a number, right? Everything. If you need something, you talk to this person, that person should technically get it for you, blah, 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 right? All the way through. And then you enter into a world that is fucking chaos. Like, the civilian world is just fucking chaos comparatively to what we understand. And it's now on us to explore, just to figure it out, right? And we're so used to being either led or encouraged, or maybe you should go talk to that guy if you need something, or being sent to go get a box of grid squares, right? Whatever it is, we're used to being told, and then all of a sudden you no longer have your tribe, you don't have any of your gear, and all of a sudden the world is chaos. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? Who wants to jump in on that first?
Well, I can tell you right
Everybody.
now,
Everybody. Okay,
I'm
Nick
staring
first,
at
then
my
Toby.
kid right now.
Yeah.
This, you're talking about, like, 21st is when I turn in my kit after 15 years, and I'm staring at it right now, and I'm going, fuck, like that. There's some memories with, like, the ruck pack and my small pack, and I was like, oh, I remember getting shot with that frag vest, or oh, I was my vehicle caught on fire, and like, oh, I almost died, like
Yeah.
it's that, and then like when I was saying about, like, when I first, how I felt when I went to the truck, at the armored school is good. It's it was nice to be part of the to drive for all these other courses and take some of my knowledge and impose it to the new guys. But again, now it's just hard because these kids don't care anymore. They're just here to do a job, collect a paycheck. I wouldn't half these guys I wouldn't trust, and like the attitude, right? You can't beat these kids anymore, right? And they cry for mental health and all that. And like, I know for me, like feeling the loss of tribe, like, 31 March, I'm out. I'm later, and most of the guys who have already gotten out, you don't talk to them anymore. The whole thing of abandonment. And now I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking, well, 3 of my best friends are already gone out. 2 of my other guys, they're gone as well, and I'm next. And it's like, well, who am I going to have to hang out with, right? And it's going to feel weird as hell, right? Don't worry, Toby. I'll make sure I still chirp, Sheldon. But
I guess not to hack you hard, but you say these kids, I wouldn't trust them. You're at the school. That's on you. Up until the day you leave, that's on you. Yeah. If you don't trust the new kids, it's because you didn't mentor them properly, or etc. And that's not personal. I mean that's with all of us as NCO, right? Like NCMs, as if you didn't, you can't just say, hey, these young guys are. What we always been told, right? Don't come to me with a problem, but I'll come to me with a freaking solution.
Oh, exactly.
And when it comes to that sense of loss, you know, I mean, I know turning in my gear was tough. I turned in my helmet. My helmet had 3 holes in it from shrapnel, where it saved my life, and it was the one thing I didn't want to let go. I just did not want to let go. I have my plate gear. I got my boots. They're covered in blood. Like they let me keep all that crap. It was bloody, but my helmet that had to go because it was, I don't know, controlled item or something.
Yeah, not
And
serviceable controlled.
you know, oh, there's another piece of me leaving this family, right? The tribe, which I mean, family is another word for it. You knew where you had to be, when you had to be there. If you weren't 10 minutes early, you were late. You knew what you were going to be wearing. You knew what to do when you got there. You knew nobody had let you starve. You might go hungry for a while, but nobody's going to let you starve. You knew you'd never be homeless. Hey, it might be a shitty shack room, but you'd get a shack room. You know, you had mom over top of you, the big green mom. And then one day you're out. I walked out the gates to the Zed lines in Petawawa, and they closed the gate behind me without my ID. And I felt completely adrift, like I was on a goddamn raft in the middle of the Pacific. It was the most horrendous feeling. So, I mean, unfortunately, because I have brain damage, I got a bunch of brain damage and nerve damage and injuries. I had and a lot of mental health issues. I had a very long road to get to where I'm at. But how you deal with that, I've watched so many guys deal with it in so many good ways. You know, guys who, well, the Legion was there as a tribe at the end of the World Wars. That was the point, right? Now, your personal opinion of the Legion aside, whether you like it or not, I don't go to the Legion. I don't spend a lot of time at the Legion. I go on Remembrance Day just like everybody else. But my grandfather was a huge proponent of it, and that was his after-war tribe. I know guys that went to Rubicon. I don't know if you guys ever know anything about Rubicon. Rubicon's all veterans, and they go into natural disaster areas and run chainsaws, set up comms, do, you know, medical intervention, whatever it is that you're good at. You put those skills to use, and you're part of a team still. I went and paddled the Arctic for 2 weeks with True Patriot Love Foundation. They flew me up there and threw me into it, and I made some great friends, and I got to feel like I was part of a team again for a while. So those sorts of things you see guys aiming for, right? The bike clubs, you know. I've been in a couple of them. I was a commando in the Commandos Bike Club and with the UN NATO guys. I just got to the point where I couldn't handle having that much crap on my vest anymore. So, and I ride my Harley on my own now, but that's why guys do it. It's just more tribe, right? And it's guys looking for a tribe once you leave the tribe that you're in. And civilians don't quite get it because they've never been sort of indoctrinated into a tribe like we have.
Yeah, they don't belong. And you know,
You belong to a family. I mean, you're an accountant. What are you, an accounting tribe? You know?
Yeah, there's nothing. And for me, it was kind of layered. I left the Patricias, and I got left on a Friday, and I started my recruit course for the sheriffs on a Monday. And I transferred into the Eddies. So 3 months after my training, I was parading with the Eddies. So I still had my uniform. I got another tour. So that was layered. But once I handed that in, yeah, it hit. It's like, I'm no longer in the Army, but I'm still in a uniform service. But policing, if anyone's been in policing, it's not the Army. It's a good job, but it's not the Army. And talking about tribes, yeah, I did the Veteran Paratroopers Motorcycle Club. It was great. Being around these like-minded guys, it was awesome. But I moved out here, so I can't be in one of those groups anymore. Apparently that's not allowed. But my other tribe is skydiving. And I'll have to tell you guys, in the skydiving world, it's like being in the Army. It's out-of-control parties, just a bunch of crazy people, and all their time and effort goes into doing crazy shit. And for instance, we have a guy at our DZ who's a skydive instructor with no legs. And he just won gold medal in China and a bronze. And 3 weeks before that, won 4 golds in Norway. And we're all of us, the whole DZ is coming to Comox Airport on Tuesday to greet him in. and then a week later, we're all going to a hall for a party. That's tribe. We're all there for us. One of the girls, her house burnt down at Christmas. We all gave money. We all got her a place to stay. That's a tribe. So you will find it on the outside.
Yeah, for sure. Ash, Nate, Cole, you want to jump in on the loss of tribe?
Sure, I can do that. I think we're fortunate to have served in the military in whatever various type of tribe you are, because the relationships that are cultivated during that time of service, they're they last a lifetime. Now, I think that as you transition or as you move on, there needs to be that time in which you do, like, where you're kind of one foot still in with what you used to do, and what how the guys are doing, and constantly checking in, and maybe them having and check maybe them checking on you, and maybe you providing a little bit of mentorship still, and guidance and advice, and that's okay. But I think in order for you to continue growing and understanding that, even though you dedicated the majority of your life to your service, you probably still have more to give. And what I mean by that is, I think when guys get out, they're just in a state of limbo. They're like marking time for an excessively long period of time, which becomes uncomfortable, during that period. And I tell people, even to this day, I'm like, so what do you plan on doing now? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, uh, I'll let you know when I figure out what I want to be when I grow up, because I don't have all the answers. But what I have tried to do, and this is something that Chance and I had discussed, is so I retired in February 2020, and I did roll into a different career. I rolled into schooling as well. But one thing that I maintained and used consistently was a routine. And the one thing that I could have control over to give me a little bit of normalcy, and to keep me kind of moving forward one step at a time, and to be honest with you, kind of keeping me somewhat sane, was being able to control a routine, which more or less, was probably 2/3 of my day that I'm still maintaining, and that's still happening. It's just, the military component of it has been removed. So, I think that people that are struggling at that time, they're struggling because they need to figure out what their purpose is, whether that's their life purpose, whether it's an intern purpose. For the military version, right? They need a mission, is what they need. And you know, the first thing that you do may not be what that purpose is, but I think just doing something is going to help you pay dividends, because a lot of people will feel lost and displaced when they leave, because especially if you get up in the numbers of guys here, like 10, 15, 20, 25 years, come on, that's a large portion of your life. And I think that you do want to find, like Tim pointed out, you want to find like-minded individuals. Where that is and what that looks like, I don't know for sure. But the reason why you joined and you stayed doing what you were doing and you were successful and you enjoyed it was because you were with those like-minded individuals, regardless of where you were in the world, what shit you were doing, and how bad it got. So, like I said before, bridging the gap with a routine, taking control and ownership of that part of your life, and then trying to work through that difficult thing of what is my purpose now, because it does have to shift. And I think there is a hesitancy to let go, but if you just put one foot in front of the other, you get up, you have a routine, you still do PT, right? You organize, you block off your time, and you take that period to develop and work on yourself. And through that process, that may assist you in figuring out, what your purpose will be, or what direction you should be heading in. And there are guys that are fortunate enough to have maybe started a side business or something before they transitioned, before they got out. There you go. That's right. Yeah. A lot of guys have done the brewing, the coffee. They've done a lot of other things. They've done, moved into small businesses, operate. What's that operation there? The Prince Foundation. I can't remember
Princess
exactly the name. Thank you. Yes, there are avenues out there, right? Toby mentioned a bunch of things that he's been able to do with a bunch of different organizations, which gave him that temporary satisfaction and that temporary purpose again. So I think it's a long process, and I think guys definitely have difficulty in going through that, including myself. I'm not sitting down here preaching that I'm good to go. So, but at the end of the day, um, it's one foot in front of the other, and it's just the effort that you got to put in. You showed up for the last 10, 20 years, and you worked through the grind, and you did what was required, and you got the job done, and you looked after your people. Well, now you just need to take that tactical pause. You need to look inwards. You need to look after yourself and work through that process to figure out what the next bound is.
Can I
To
just add, one point quickly? When we talk about tribe, different units, blah, blah, blah. But we've all traveled and we've all met people from different countries. As soon as they say military, boom, you can't stop us from talking, right? Because the tribe is that much bigger. I don't care if you're in the Air Force, in the Navy, in Brazil, anywhere. You're in the military, and it's just like, bam.
Yeah, I've met like just through the podcast, I've met people from all over the world, all different militaries. Even before that, I was in Mexico and we went on this little excursion, and I randomly met up with this Mexican Army sergeant, and we were like thick as thieves immediately, right? Just it's the way it is. Nate, Cole, you want to jump in on Lost
I'll
in
go
Tribe?
next if you don't mind there, little.
Yeah, give her, man.
All right. So again, mine's a little different because I did get back in. It was too much for me, and I got out into like a pseudo military style career. I went to become a private contractor, did all my research before I got out. I took my return of contributions. I paid for the courses. I learned. I did everything they wanted me to do. Went over to England, did the counter piracy courses, and it was awesome. I had SBS guys train me. I loved it. But as time went on, shit in the world changed, and it got extremely expensive to fly to Malta to get onto these boats. And to the point where in Iraq was slowing down, they're kicking out contractors, and these guys all lived in South France, so they were taking those guys. Somebody from Canada wasn't as great as somebody that was already there. But at the time when I was doing all the jumping around, my wife took my subcontracting company that we make. She had to be her own subcontractor, and she started making security contracts in Edmonton. So we did hotels, we did all this other stuff. So when it became not as cost effective for me to go overseas, she put me into like an office role. She gave me a desk, she gave me a computer, she said, you'll train the guards, this and that. And honestly, I went from like 195 pounds of like, I won't say pure muscle, but pretty good, to like 235 pounds of like pizza eating, donut loving, spin around my rolly chair, because I really didn't have a job. The guards got trained by the province. They told us what they could do, they couldn't do, and I didn't even ask her. I went to the recruiting. I started going back to PT. I went to the recruiting office, and I re-signed up, because once I didn't have even the inkling of the tribe, I couldn't handle it. I hated dealing with politics. I couldn't handle civvies. It was angry. I was angry all the time, and I was like, I know what'll change it. I need to join the army again. I need to get back in there, and these guys will welcome me with open arms. I have all this new experience. I learned all this shit overseas, and they did. They welcomed me right back in. But it was hard. That loss of tribe was like impossible. And even talking about it now, I feel it right here. It's like, I hated it. So now, I'm 40 years old. I only got a few years left to do till I get my pension, and it actually bothers me. Because like, fuck, I don't want to go through that again. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna do a security thing, because I don't want anything that relates to the military. That if that goes away, then I miss that. Kind of like what Ashley said there. Maybe, these guys are doing different jobs. They're doing business. They're doing investing. They're doing coffee. They're doing brewing like Nick. Maybe I'll look into something like that. But all I know is, I think when you get out, you've got to try to expand your horizons, because I didn't. And when it got taken away from me, like it was a successful company. Like we ended up selling it and making good money. And my wife didn't understand why I ran back, but it was the fact that I didn't feel I was with those like-minded people. I didn't feel people understood me. I was part of the Legion, and that didn't fill that gap. I just couldn't survive without it, or that's what I felt like, anyways. So I went running back, and yeah. So that loss of tribe, it depends on who you are, but it's hard. It's extremely hard. Like,
Yeah, 100% Cole. 100%. Nate, you want to finish off?
I was just going to
Yeah.
say, weight. Guys who leave the Army tend to go one of two ways, right? Full stop or full throttle. I got out and I got fat. Like I'm 52 years old in a couple of weeks. It doesn't take me long to fatten up. And when I falling into 24 packs of beer and not having the tribe to shove me for PT every day, it didn't take long. And when I recognize it, and now I'm in the gym every day, and I'm, trimmed back up and stuff. And I also don't drink anymore. But for people, yeah, it's one of two speeds. It's full stop or full throttle, and that's it. Physical fitness, man. Fit body, fit mind, right? And if your body's not fit, Jesus, it can sure fuck with your mind.
Look good, feel good, right? That's right. That's the old thing. Nate, you want to finish off?
That's what she said. So, with the aspects of that I'm hearing, and this is, I've got a lot to say on this part of the topic, actually. When I got out, I had a really shitty, cowardly chain of command that didn't know how to deal with perceived mental health issues. It was 2 RCR. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this by no means. We lost a lot of good guys over a very short period of time to mental health issues. When I got out, we lost anyways, I'm not gonna list the names because I gotta hold my shit together here. Shitty shit. And I was finally, after a decade of misdiagnosis for injuries in my body, they said, we found out what was going on. I tried to get it fixed. You know what? We don't really want to deal with you, so we're going to push you over here to that support services platoon of fuckery or whatever. Means well, but at the time was poorly executed. That was when I knew that my time in the tribe was done. I no longer had troops. I knew that physically I had issues to deal with, and I was too pissed off and angry at the chain of command that I was about to attack. I was a senior NCO, so it was a different realm, different conversation for another time. But what happened was the senior NCOs were being attacked because all the power was given to the officers, and it was just a fucked up system. I'm not going to digress too far. When I was taken to support platoon, it devastated. Like I command. I had no more troops. I was a platoon warrant, and I knew that screwed me up. I was also dealing with a custody battle outside. Was another reason why they pushed me out, because, and I wasn't being drama, but my ex-spouse at the time was military, and she was causing the drama. So it happened. Okay. So when I got out, and then had the surgery and had the bone, everything fixed, the next fight I had was the custody battle. So I went from one fight to another fight. I ballooned up to 300 and I want to say 340, 320. And my whole world at that time was all about my kids. That was the only fight that mattered. And I fought it, and then I was alienated from my kids. And now this is not a unique story to me. This is shit that happens to a lot of service members, a lot of men, right? And so it's not just indicative of something I went through. Okay, so please pay attention to the next following statements very closely, because this is not just about me. There's something you can take away from this. When I went to that fight and I fought, and I finally got the kids, and then went and had the court stuff done, I was alienated from my kids because of all the crap that had gone on. So as soon as that happened, that full stop of your kids are gone, it was a forced midlife crisis. No career, no kids to focus on. no focal point whatsoever. I wasn't coaching anymore. I wasn't contracting anymore. I was like full force stop, hit the wall. What the fuck am I going to do? I took it hard, super hard. I was so medicated at that point. I was on cannabis, thankfully, because I got off of all the prescribed shit. And then I had one of those volcano fucking, I looked like Darth Vader. Hose into my mouth and everything all the fucking time. Like I didn't do drugs when I was in high school. Didn't know anything about it. I was too poor to buy that shit anyway. Here I am, getting towards my 40s, and I am high. I don't remember a whole month of my life because my dog and I slept all the time. And I was like, I had this wake up moment of, is this what I want my kids to see if they ever come back into my life? And that was the turning point. So it's like a forced midlife crisis. And I used to get this all the time where people are like, oh, he's going through a midlife crisis. He's buying a sports car. He's doing this. He's doing that. Here's the truth about a parent. Your kids are gone. Focal point is gone. This money because they're not in your house eating all of your food like locusts, right? So with that said, you now have this time and money to do whatever you want, but you're not used to doing it. And it's the same thing when you get out of the military. You have money and time, you don't know what to do with it. Thankfully, I had a friend come and literally get me on, hey, I just got my firearms license. You know gun shit. Let's go to the range. And I'm like, fine, yeah, okay, I'll do some stuff, I guess, or whatever. I didn't remember my value or worth because at one point I applied for a job, and again, this is not indicative of me. It's all military members when they get out. So take this one to heart as well. When you get out and you apply for a job and they tell you that they don't want you, the reason, the real absolute secret reason that civvies don't want military members working for them in most industries is because you have more experience than the 5 fucking guys above you. Okay? So they, just like those medals on the chest, they don't want you working for them. So I put in for this job. Guys told me that I was going to get it. I was applied, and they're like, did you get the job? I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, let's look into it. They looked into it, 2 ranks high. Didn't want me working for them because I knew more. I have a golden, beautiful personality. I'm pretty looking. Who doesn't want to hire this, right? So anyways, that's points to take away from this. The other thing is I started to remember who I was because I was around familiar things. Gunsmoke. You smell. It's like shaving cream and fucking whiskey to you. It's a familiar smell that awakens things to me, right? On the range doing biathlon, the house clearing, all that fun shit, all that stuff. So gunpowder woke me up. You're hired. So it's when you're doing that, it reminds you who you are. You have to. It's going to be a struggle, but you have to remember who you are. So when you have that money and time to still be you and have the discipline, and this is where we touch back to what Ashley said, is that challenge that you do in the military forges you for who you are in future endeavors. So as a future leader or a current leader, challenge your troops because you're going to empower them. So when they do get, they can continue on and they can handle what the civilian world wants for them. These are your children. You want them to be able to succeed no matter what because they are your fucking legacy. So I remembered who I was. I went back to going to the gym. I dropped down to 245, a few more pounds because I needed to look prettier for some, the beard. So a 50-pound beard is a lot better than a 45. So what I want you to take, that's right, you stroke that, boys. You stroke it. Educated beards are my friends, by the way. So anyways, you take that struggle. I like how Tim's is more imaginary, really long. So you take that struggle and you teach your troops how to empower them, just like you do when you raise a child or a fucking working dog that is a killer. Or you take that, okay? So the takeaway I want from this is what I went through, and years later, my oldest son has reached out to me, and he came to me and he saw my social media, and he saw my struggle, and he's like, that's my dad. That's the guy that raised me for years, and that's who I want to hang out with. And that's who I have. My son told me one thing. The one thing he got from me when he was dealing with all the shit, and that's his story, is that he had the stubbornness to keep getting the fuck back up. So I don't care what trade you were, what your tribe was, you have it inside you because you already did those things to earn it. And that fortitude to handle anything in front of you. Life is either going to deal with you or you're going to deal with life. And right now, boys, gentlemen, these foxes, whatever I ask, I'm dealing with life. Life's not dealing with me anymore. I was told I'd never lift again. I was told by this time in my life I would be in a fucking wheelchair. I said, fuck that. Because you know why? Because I'm a goddamn Canadian Forces fucking tier and a Patricia to boot. So again, it's not just my story. It's your
That deserves a hell yeah, not even a hooah. Hell yeah!
Hell yeah. I would even go so far as to say, "Gee fucking Mo," but
Bull and
Hooah.
sweat.
oh geez, now all the things are coming out. So we've been going for a while now. Again, first off, I want to finish off with a point here, but one of the key things, and I just figured this out with my doc a little while ago, and it struck me well. So I'm going to give you what I came up with, and I'm going to tell you a little story. Grace, not slack. And I want to give you why that's segregated. So when I was in basic training, I remember I was the marker whenever we did drill because I'm 6'6", right, and I'm the fucking marker, right? So we were doing push-ups one day because it's basic. That's what you do. And I don't remember why we were doing push-ups. We were doing push-ups, and I was pounding these push-ups out, and I got to a point where I couldn't lift myself up off the ground anymore. Like I was literally just like, bleh, and you'd get that like inch where your biceps flex, right? And nothing would happen. Just sheer will, nothing happened. And I had this Master Seaman come over, which Master Seamans are a whole nother issue that we'll all laugh about because it's hilarious, but we'll get to that later. So he comes over and he starts jacking me up.
Master Sailor.
Right? Oh, right. They're sailors now. Yeah. He was a seaman at the time. Can't even say it with a straight face. Right? There you go. So he comes over and he like lays down on the ground beside me and he's knife handed me. What the fuck are you doing? You're fucking supposed to be doing push-ups. Why are you doing any fucking push-ups? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just every ounce of my being, just like, grrr. I'm like, I'm trying, Master Seaman. And he's like, I don't fucking care. Get your ass off the ground. And I'm, again, just everything I got. And he finally kind of like looked at me. He stood up. He grabbed my belt and he pulled me up into the full press. And I'm like, whew, haha, yeah. And then my arm started to shake and I'm like, oh no. Wham! Face first off the concrete. Went to push up again. Nothing, right? Just grrr, nothing. We did that 3 times. So he picked me up, dropped me, picked me up, dropped me. And every time I was pushing. I was pushing. Couldn't push myself off of the ground. And I came to the realization that like what he did was after the 3rd time he just went like this. Yeah, all right. And he walked off. And what I realized at the time was he doesn't care about the push-ups. Right? He cares about the effort. That's what he wants. And that's the delineation between grace, not slack. You can give yourself grace. Okay, physically you were incapable of doing push-ups. But I kept trying. I didn't stop. I didn't like get up off the ground and be like, oh, fuck, my arms are just done. I can't do anymore, right? It doesn't matter. You're going to be there trying until you get told to stop. Period. And that's the no slack portion of it. But the grace of it is that's okay. Right? You may physically not be able to do it, or you may emotionally may not be able to do it right now. But the no slack portion of it is tomorrow you're going to try again. And tomorrow you're going to try again. And the next day you're going to try again. So when it comes to, building your tribe, it's the same process. Right? It's this, you try something, oh, you know what I've always wanted to do? Rock climbing. Go to a fucking gym and try it. Right? try it. See what happens. You might like it. For me, I went to jujitsu, and I'm like, fuck yes. This is like, yes. Sitting around choking people all day, I am down. 100% of the time. Other people, it's bikes. Some people, it's coffee. Some people, it's brewing. Some people, like, whatever it is, jumping out of airplanes. Tim, you and I got to talk about that after.
Tim's throwing me out of one in July.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about. But so,
I can't
What-
wait to throw you out of that plane.
oh, it's
Toby,
going
I'll
to be so
come
much
and
fun.
catch you at the bottom.
So the point that I wanted to make, and I want you guys' comments on this before we shut down for the night. The trick to, finding your tribe is that you need to surround yourself with the right people. But that does not mean that you just surround yourself with people. You have to surround yourself with the right people. So I'm going to go around the room again, and I want you guys to give me a little piece on how do you find the right people. And I'm going to totally throw it a wrench in the chain here, and I'm going to start with Tim. Go.
So I think that for me, it's fairly simple. What I do is if someone's draining me, I cut them away. That's plan B in skydiving. Well, cut it away. Simple. I used to try and nurse it and try to coach them, try to mentor, but it always seems to backfire. So those ones that truly drain you, cut them away. The ones that you can actually work on, you keep, right? And it sounds cold, but it works.
That's a great point. Cole.
Right on. I agree with Tim. And I hate it that it kind of sounds like the boys club thing, and that's what a lot of people will point at. The ones that don't put in the effort, the ones that just want to be given everything, will always use that attack. The boys club. So like when I got here to Comox, right away I just kept my mouth shut, worked with everybody, and then I found the ones that wanted to work, the ones that wanted to move up, and then I put myself with them. And now that after a few years they're gonna promote me, move me up. I'm taking them with me. And I started getting this just the other day, like, oh, the boys club. Oh, you only pick these guys because they drink with you. But they don't. It's been freaking pandemic. Couldn't have too many people over anyways. But it wasn't anything about that. It was these guys busted their ass. When I asked for people to come help me with whatever the job was, they were the first ones to stand up. They were the first ones to come. And so I got them the courses they wanted. I got them the things they wanted. And what that also helped do is people that liked them started to put in the effort and follow them, and then they joined my tribe. And I got quite a nice following out of it, and these guys all work hard, but it started off with 5 of them, and then I think we're up to like 12 now that kind of hang out. They're always on the jobs, they're ready to go, and it's that easy. You find the ones that you like, or not that you like, the ones that are willing to work with you and take criticism and take the punishment that you're willing to give to mentor them. And then, like it said, it's almost like it's like a tribe, and then they put out that energy, and then people come to them, and it kind of just grows your tribe that way. And yeah, do I feel bad that there's certain people cut out of it? Yes and no, because like Tim said, if they're not willing to work, if they're not willing to contribute, then you're going to drain your energy focusing on the wrong people that don't really want to be there, but they want to be handed stuff. So yes, surround yourself with the people that are willing to work for you and sacrifice for you, because you're willing to do the same for them, and your tribe will just grow. It'll grow out of word of mouth, not because you're bag licking, but people see that these guys are getting all this Gucci go. These guys are getting recognized. Well, I want to be like them, so I'm going to follow those guys and slowly leech off the leader that they follow, and then next thing you know, boom, you've got this nice following. Everybody's working hard, and these are the people you want to be with.
Raj. Ash.
I think I can sum that up with reciprocity. So whatever you get from the friendship or whatever you get out of the tribe, it has to be mutually beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if you're looking for what the next step is, I know when guys are, getting out, and everyone thinks that the grass is greener on the other side, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. But we usually tend to gravitate towards the things we're most comfortable with. So, challenge yourself, and, understand that there is something past service, and whether that means that you're still going to refocus and find a new way of serving the people, serving your community, whatever that looks like. Understand that there's lots of avenues there, and there is something else you can do in a way that you can contribute. And I would say my best piece of advice to finish that up would be take the first step, find a fire team partner.
Yeah, that's a great one. Nick?
I think a big thing with what everyone's saying and the reciprocity is a good thing.
Reciprocity?
Reciprocity. Yeah, can't speak right now. Again, like I'm at the school, and I'm out right at the end of the month, and I think the big thing for me is, my wife, for her, she's so stressed out about money and everything. So it's like, I need to get a job. I need to have that, you know, like Tim, like he was out on a Friday, on the Monday he was doing a course, right? And I think for me it's more of like, doing that, right? Where do I want to go from there, right? Like, I already have a set plan, right? Most of the guys that are getting out, they're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go back to living under a bridge in Toronto, right? Like, live under the, like some of the guys that were back in Pet, they're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go back to East York and live under the QEH, like, you can't do that shit, right? Like, I got the brewing. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me is finding that new tribe, because like we were saying, like, I'm a veteran owned brewing company, right? There's quite a few of them here, and I've had that ability to connect. Like, I was just talking to one guy. He was 5th Special Forces Group down in Tennessee. He's like, yo, followed your stuff, love your shit. Like, we gotta, like, we gotta hang out, right? And then I applied for journalism school here at St. Thomas, right? And I think, like what Ashley was saying is, to serve again, right? Journalism, look at what's going on in the world, right? There's always going to be, something to report on, right? And I think that's the big thing of, I can tell the stories, I can do all that, like, I don't know if anyone knows Kevin Newman from Global National. Yeah, right. Well, he reached out with me, and I was able to get some contact information from him, and he's like, yo, if you get accepted into journalism, I'll help you 100%. And I'm like, so I applied, and so far I think I'm gonna get it. I'm just waiting for the acceptance letter, right? And at least that was my nav check. Okay, oh, like, I'm getting out. What's okay, I got the brewing, and I'm gonna get journalism, right? Maybe I might do something else, right?
Yep. That's the real trick, is understanding that you never know, right? You try something, see what happens. And it, before I get to you, Toby or Nate, it reminded me of a point that I wanted to make earlier, is that we have to take judgment out of the picture, right? Your preconceptions of what things should be or could be or whatever doesn't fucking matter. Try it. See what happens. If it's fucking horrible, okay, cool. It's fucking horrible. You learned something, right? I don't like this. I'm out. Versus, this is pretty cool. I think I could do this for a while. Maybe I should. And just every day, wake up, same thing. Remember, grace, not slack. That's all it is. Toby.
Yeah, I think that when I look for a new tribe, when I'm looking for a new tribe in the world post-military, I look for, remember sitting around the back of your lab or in a trench at 3 o'clock in the morning, and Everything devolves to stupid jokes, and people will tell you the worst fucking things they've ever done in their life, and the best things, the things that they're proudest of in their life, and it's reality. Like, people just do not bullshit in those situations. Some of the most intense conversations I've ever had in my life had nothing to do with, warfare or drinking or anything like that. It was sitting around in a CP at 3 o'clock in the morning, just trying to stay awake and just telling each other everything. And I look for that reality within people. I don't care if you've served or not. I don't care if you're a unicorn, if you wear a dress, what your self-identity is. Are you real, dude? Can I accept you as who you are? And do you accept me as who I am? And that's one of the things that I found that I lost out of the military when you left the tribe was nobody gave a shit in the lines, whether you were a liberal or a conservative, or whether you banked trolls from the bar on Friday night, or you took home the prom queen. They get harassed about it, but it was all fair game. It was just real. And in the civilian world, I didn't find that. It was judgment about who you vote for, whether you take a jab for a vaccine or not, as we've seen, shit like that. Like these, I think that I sort of started to realize that the civilian world didn't have to worry about life and death, so they worry about everything else, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's about reality. How real a person are you? If you're going to be real and you're willing to accept me for who I am, then maybe we can be tribe. And then from there it comes down to my tin cup, right? I take a lot of phone calls from a lot of guys in really bad shape. I get a lot of messages from a lot of guys in really bad shape, and every one of them that I help, I love doing it. But my cup drains a little more every time. And so I have to have a bit of a tribe that can help fill that cup up for me, gas me up, so that I still have more to give to those guys who aren't in a position to give right now. They just don't have it in them to give. I've been there. 3 years ago, I was chained to a hospital bed with RCMP around, and because I had a SWAT team at my house. I have been empty cup, man, and so when I look for a tribe now, I look for people who can help me fill my cup up a little bit, so that I can pass drinks on from that cup to guys who need it at the time. And I find that with people who are just willing to be real, just be fucking genuine, So, I mean, the next plan for me, we've just bought an RV, a 37-foot beast, and we're going to start dragging it around North America. And, we're talking about mission. My mission is to find a mission that helps my fellow warfighters.
Fuck yeah.
That is my new mission. Find a mission that's going to help my fellow warfighters.
Hoorah.
That's what I live for now.
This is the way. That is it, man, right there. And I've always said, what do you do when you lose your mission? You realize that the mission is you. And then
Correct.
figure it out from there, right? Nate,
Can
you
I
want
just
to
say I'm fucking pumped up now?
Good. Fucking right. That's the way I like it. Nate, let's round us off. You're muted, buddy. Hold on, Nate, you're muted. There you go. Now you're off. Now you're on. Now you're off.
Okay.
Okay, you're good.
So, to echo whatever he's saying right now about the tribe, and our cup is so fucking important. You have to protect it. We are trained to be givers and doers. My career, I was a peacekeeper, peacemaker, and a fucking war fighter. We gave and we gave. No one taught us how to protect that cup. Now you have time to protect the cup. I have had some wrong fucking tribes in the last few years. I apologize when I say the word fuck. I'm referring to Navy SEALs. This is a Canadian bilingual show. So you have to protect that cup, because when you surround yourself with the wrong people, they're going to take away from it. If you are looking for a tribe while you're angry, you're going to attract fellow angry people. If you are lost, you're going to have other lost people, or people that are going to take advantage of your lostness and your generosity. So before you go looking for a tribe, zero your weapon system, and that is you. Return to the gym, take a look, balance your diet. Get the fuck off the booze or limit it. Because when you go looking for that tribe, you have to be pure of heart, because then you will find the right tribe and it'll present itself. I am a firm believer in not everything happens for a reason, but things are presented it to us. And if you do not have the right mindset to make the correct choices, you're going to make wrong ones. Now, keep this in mind. You have to make some bad choices. I love that, Jim. You have to make some bad choices before you know what good choices are. Okay? And that's what you did when you were a private hired. You made stupid ones. You surround yourself with the wrong drinking buddies. You put your head through the wall, or you trash the shacks, or you bang the wrong fucking pigs on Friday. This is your time to rebalance, recalibrate, re-zero that system, then go looking for your tribe. Do not go rushing. Tribe will come, but you have to balance yourself. And that's the mistakes I made, is I went looking for a tribe. And I was desperate to be part of something that wasn't there. And I surrounded myself with the way wrong people, lost kingdoms, and now time to my system. I am so on target. It doesn't matter if somebody comes in and thinks they're going to be part of my tribe. I recognize, like Tim said right away, if they are uncoachable, untrainable, or not adding, like Ashley said, to that return investment of time with me, and it's not mutually beneficial. Think of it this way: your training partner at the gym, you want them to push you to a PR, not take away from your gains, right? In the gym world, you want to be a tight grouping if you're talking about shooting. You want to have the best tasting beer if you're talking about beer. You want to be learning the best chokes. I've rolled with Hoist Gracie 3 times in the last 4 years, not desperate for a tribe, but because I got my shit right. Your opportunities will come. Be patient, just like a sniper. Little Timmy over there, he's actually 7'9". Tim over there, taking the time and breathing, waiting for the right time to take that shot. Do shit. Use those mindset skills that we have all talked about and that you have learned in whatever trait it is that runs you towards danger. Utilize them. Take that pause and do some tactical breathing. Get your shit right. The tribe will come. Be patient. But we are examples of what we are saying.
That is a very succinct way of putting it, brother. I really appreciate that. I want to say thank you to everybody. Ash, did you got a point? You're just jumped your
Yeah,
mic off.
I was just gonna say, show me your friends, and I'll show you your future.
Ooh, there you go. That's exactly it. Yeah, exactly. You, and as we said earlier, right? Be the change you want to see. If you want something, be that, and everything will come to you. That's the way it is. So I want to thank you all first off for being on again, for Ash for the first time. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. Been great conversations. I can't thank you all enough. I'm gonna kill the recording here in a minute, but and then I want you to stay around because I want to do a quick AAR. But again, thank you all, man. It's been my pleasure having you on here, and it has been my pleasure serving with some of you, serving at the same time as some of you, and also just hanging out with y'all. It's been great. So thanks very much, boys. And